Well, hi everybody. I'm Barbara Fonte. Welcome. If you're watching this in real time, it's Tuesday. Well, at least it is here in New York, and I hope you're having a great day wherever you are and whenever it is that you're watching this, whether it's replay or live. I'm happy you're with me today because I'm excited to share with you some blind spots that we all tend to have, and they're the kinds of things that really mess with our well-being and our success. So let me go over to the comments because this technology doesn't always tell us who's tuning in and so forth. So if you are here, glad you're here. I'd love to hear where you're tuning in from. So go into the comments and let me know. And any feedback you have, you can do that as well. So over the next 30 minutes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you the number one reason why people sabotage themselves and how they sabotage themselves. So I'm going to disclose to you the biggest blind spot that we all have, show you how it's affecting you, your well-being and your happiness and your performance, and what you can do about it. Because you don't have to live that way. So this is part of a series that I'm doing live on LinkedIn. I'm going to be doing some other uh, events, programming, share with you some other things that I've learned over, I can't believe I'm going to say this, almost 4 decades in training and education and coaching. I started in corporate world as a director of training and education for employees at a Fortune 100 company. And then I decided to take a risk, take a jump, go into sales, open my own business. And what I learned there is interesting. And I hired and trained people to do the same. And over the last I don't know how many decades, I've been coaching and training, oh gosh, thousands at this point. And I've learned a thing or two along the way. So I want to share some of those things with you because one of the things I know is that there's a hard way to do things and there's an easy way to do things. We only need to worry about the easy way, right? So let me show you what I have coming up. And let's see. So you'll know in case you'd like to keep an eye out for those. Hopefully you can see this. So in the future, I'm going to be doing a session probably next week on ramping up your energy. I've developed a formula that you can use to beat any challenge or obstacle, tackle those things that you've been resisting or putting off. It's a really easy way to have more engagement and get those things done in an energetic fashion. I'm also doing a session on 3 habits of highly successful people. These are habits that no one talks about. I mean, I keep my eyes open and I read a lot of these self-help books and these tactics and strategies, and they don't disclose everything. So I'm going to share with you 3 habits that people who are very successful use. And also, and I think those of you who are business owners or entrepreneurs will appreciate this, stop doing everything yourself. How to harness the power of relationships so you can make it easier and be more successful with less effort. That's really important, right? So, a couple other things. As I mentioned, I am going to share with you today the biggest thing that sabotages us, but it's not the only thing. So, in the essence of keeping things to like a half an hour or less, I did create something for those of you who would like to know more about other things that you may be doing to sabotage yourself. I do have something that you can get. You'll see in the upper part of this screen, there's a QR code. So if you are not viewing this on your cell phone, you can just take your cell phone camera, throw it over that QR code, and put your email address in there. And at the end of this broadcast, I'll send that to you. And it's really cool. I know you're going to be able to relate to at least 1 or 2 of those things. You're going to say, oh, this is me. And you'll probably recognize some of these things in either coworkers or loved ones. So I think it's a really helpful piece of information that everybody can use. If, by the way, you are watching this on your cell phone, I did put a link in the comments so that you can get that. And if you're having any technical difficulty with any of those things and you want that information, because there are 9 ways that we sabotage ourselves, just shoot me a DM or reach out, send me an email, let me know that you'd like that, and I will be happy to send that to you. Okay, let's get started. Um, I want to disclose to you what the biggest blind spot and how most of us sabotage ourselves on a regular basis without realizing it. So I'm going to introduce this to you. Then I'm going to tell you why and how it's sabotaging you. And finally, I'll share with you what you can do about it. So hopefully that sounds good. I'm going to just click here. Okay. All right. So here it is, guys. The reason that you're sabotaging yourself is because you're overusing your inner judge. Okay? We all have an inner judge. Everybody's got it. If you're a human being, you've got an inner judge. And all the time you're using it to judge yourself, judge others, and judge circumstances. And some of you I know have a very harsh inner critic on yourself. So you judge yourself very harshly. So we use that, and you might say, well, why is that a problem? How is that sabotaging me? Hang on, I'm going to explain. But I do want to also acknowledge the fact that we kind of live in a judgy society. I think we live in a point in time in our culture and history where everybody seems to be very, very judgy. And all you need to do is go on almost any social media site. I think LinkedIn's a little more user friendly in this department, but if you go on X or Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, etc., people have opinions, don't they? They're very judgy and they're very rooted in their opinions, even if they know nothing about what it is they're talking about, right? And I bet you can relate to this because I know I can. Sometimes we'll see some kind of a post or an article or a news story comes on the news and we just hear the headline. Before we know it, we've already made judgments about what that is and how we feel about it before we even know all the facts. We do this constantly. And the problem is that it gets in the way of your success, your potential, and your performance. Now, let me give you a little bit of food for thought because I use those three words quite often and I want to make it applicable to you in your situation. When I talk about success, I'm talking broadly. Used to be when I first started out in my career, success was defined by a lot of materialistic things. It was like accumulation of things, accumulation of assets, accumulation of dollars in your accounts, having the right place to live, driving the right kinds of cars, accumulating these things, the kinds of things that others might be impressed with, right? The kinds of things that make us try to be impressed with ourselves and feel like we're good enough. Thankfully, that definition of success has expanded, as it should. It's not that those things aren't good. Those are fun things to have, but they're arguably not the most important things, and certainly too narrow. So whether you define success as having a life where you're excited to get out of bed, that's pretty cool, or by having positive emotions, or maybe you have a checklist of things. I have a lot of clients and they have certain things they want to get, they want to accomplish, they want to have. So maybe those are on your success list. Maybe it's a certain title or a corner office or a certain kind of relationship. It doesn't matter. What really matters, because this is going to apply to everything, but what really matters is that however you look at success, you're doing so in a way that is authentic to who you are and aligned with what's important to you and your values. Because the one thing you don't want is to consider success and make your goals and plans and intentions and put your energies to a success plan that other people have outlined. You know, the kind that you think you should have, or that other people tell you should have, or you've seen other people do, that they've been successful and you want to be like them. That's not the best way. You're on your own path, and that's okay. And that's what you should be focusing on. And by the way, if you don't know how you define success, that's okay too. That only means that you now have a starting point to consider some things and consider what's most important to you and what lights you up. So I just want to say that because what we're going to talk about applies to all of these things. Performance. I'm a performance coach. What does that mean when I talk about things that are going to compromise your performance? How you show up in the world, in your life, is how you perform in your life. So, for example, I'll bet there's some times that you've been engaged in certain activities that you felt like you were really engaged and you're sort of in a state of what they call flow, where maybe you are communicating something and you're really just on point. If people ask you questions, you're answering eloquently, or you're being very funny and you're just getting the kind of response that you're looking for. You're answering questions, or you're writing something where you feel like you're really doing the best you can do. You're in a state of flow, right? That's one way to operate. But then there are probably some times where Maybe you haven't felt that way. Maybe your energy's been low. Maybe you felt resistance or fear or something else. So, performance, being the top performance, means that you're showing up in that flow state, that being on, that having your learning centers in your brain turned on and your cognitive abilities are at their highest level. That's what we really want more of. That feels good. And that gives us our highest level of success, what we call our full potential. Now, I talk a lot about potential. So, what does that mean? When we think about potential, we often think about things like things that give us potential or we have potential, which might be some skills or talents maybe we're born with or we learned, some experiences we've had, education, maybe people that we know or certain situations and communities that we're in, which might help our potential. Yeah, those things are all relevant. But to get to your highest level of potential, you need something else. There's a little X factor that you need. And it's that same blind spot. It's that judge. That judge needs to be quieted down in order to reach your full potential. And the problem is that all of the research indicates only 20% of people reach their full potential. And it's because of their inner judge, more often than not. So let me tell you the reasons why and how this affects you, your inner judge. And then I am going to debunk some misbeliefs that you might think of, or you might be thinking now or in the near future. So I want to address those. And I'll tell you the truth about them. And then I'll tell you what to do about this so you can reach your goals, be successful, stop sabotaging yourself, and do so with more ease and flow rather than resistance and negative energy. So, okay, reason number one. The first reason why your inner judge is sabotaging you is because it's creating perceptions of things. And human perceptions are notoriously inaccurate. So you have certain perceptions of yourself, of others, of circumstances, right? You're judging all of these things. We often judge other people about how they judge us. So we create these perceptions about what other people think about us or what they might think about us if we show up differently or if we put ourselves out there. And those perceptions are inaccurate because things happen and then we internalize them. And they sort of filter through a lens, and that lens is clouded. It's clouded with our fears. It's clouded with our prior experiences, and it's clouded with our biases about things. So we don't see things as accurately as they are or as neutral as they are. That's why, let's say you hear a political candidate. I always think about politics because people are so divisive on this. They have really strong opinions and very judgy there. But let's say you've got a politician who gets up and gives a speech and gives that speech to a whole bunch of people. They might all hear different things and have different opinions and judgments about that person and their message. One person might say, oh, that was terrific. This person is great. And those ideas, and I'm going to vote for this person. And they're the best thing since sliced bread. And then the other person next to them says, what? I didn't hear that. Those things were terrible. That's ridiculous. This will never work. This person doesn't know what they're doing. I'm not voting for this person. You go, wait a second. The same words came out, but they filtered through different lenses. And you may even have been in a situation where you communicated something to someone and they heard something different. And you're like, wait a minute, that's not what I said. Right? It's not what I said. Our perceptions are inaccurate. So we have to know that. So I want you to think about that, especially if you're beating yourself up. I've had a lot of clients that, boy, they're pretty amazing, I have to say. And they're great people and they've done wonderful things and they're just super, super engaged in what they're doing and creating positive ripples in the community and so forth, such great things. And yet they don't see it. Their perceptions are off. And maybe yours are about yourself as well. And about others, et cetera, and circumstances. So that's what I want you to know, that the first reason why you're sabotaging yourself is because you're relying on your perceptions. The second reason has to do with physiology. Now, I know some of you know a little bit about this, but stick with me because I'm going to elevate this. But I think that one of the things they don't teach us in school is about what's going on in here. And it's really important to know that, because if you don't know what's going on in there, you can't show up to the best of your abilities, and you may beat yourself up unnecessarily because you don't really understand what's happening. You think maybe it just has something to do with, lack of discipline or just, something else about your own personality characteristics. So let me take a step back and tell you this. The human species has a mechanism in it, and it's in our brain, designed to keep us alive, designed to keep the species going on from generation to generation to generation. And it happens to be in the same region of the brain where fear resides, where anger is, where shame, where stress and anxiety is rooted, and where all that judgment comes from. Some people call it the fight or flight brain. You may have heard that. Some people talk about this little almond-shaped area called the amygdala, where all of these things reside. It's part of what's called our limbic system. All of these things are true, but you don't need to worry yourself with knowing all those things. I just want you to know that there's a center where all of that stuff is hanging out. And when it's turned on, other parts of our brain get compromised. And it's because of that whole idea of fight or flight. So if you think about thousands of years ago, when humans used to roam the earth freely amongst other predatory species, we had to be really careful. We had to look for danger. And if we weren't sure if something was dangerous, it really benefited us to assume the worst. So err on the side of negativeness, right? So look for the negative, judge things negatively. That made sense because if we saw leaves rustling in the distance, well, maybe it's the wind, but maybe it's a tiger who's ready to pounce on us. Okay. So if that happens, we need to either fight that predator or run away. That's why they call it fight or flight. Either way, we need a whole lot of energy. This area is going to suck a lot of energy. And where is it going to take it from? It's going to take it from other parts of our brain that it doesn't think we need, including the part of your brain where you make good decisions, the part of your brain where you can assess situations and make the best plans, where you can be creative, where you can explore different options and make decisions not based on fear, but based on good thought processes. If you're in fight or flight, your brain thinks you don't need those, so it's going to compromise them. And a great example of that is if you've ever felt like, let's say there's a time in your life where you're really upset about something. Maybe you're even crying, but you're angry about something. You're so stressed. You can't believe somebody did something or something happened. And, you're in kind of like this furious state. And someone tries to tell you something or bring something to you. And you're like, no, go away. I can't deal with that now. It's like I can't even think straight. Or maybe you've seen that in other people. Someone's really upset and you want to talk to them like, I can't take that in right now. It feels like I can't think straight. Well, it's not your imagination. That's exactly what's happening. Your thinking brain is compromised. Now, fortunately, we don't all walk around in that furious state. But when we're very judgmental, when we're motivated by negative emotions, or any of these things are turned on, our brain is compromised. The parts of our brain, it's called your executive functions. Those are being shut down to conserve energy. And so we sabotage ourselves. We don't make the best decisions. And maybe you've been in a situation where you've had a boss or a leader in an organization and they got worried about something. Let's say the economy took a turn or sales weren't as high as they should be. And so instead of having like an open mind and coming up with solutions, they got really worried. And maybe they micromanaged or something. So all of these things get in the way. So our physiology, our perceptions, and thirdly, because your brain is designed to keep you safe. And so if you ever want to take action on something that is going to lift your spirits or your success, and you feel resistance to doing that, it's because your brain is trying to keep you safe. And it's making a judgment about that. So where does that show up? Let's say you're in a meeting and you get a great idea. And at first you're like, oh, it's a great idea. I want to share it. But you hold back because you're making judgments about how good it is, how you might be perceived, a judgment about how others might see it or how they might react. And so you hold back. Anybody ever experienced that? And then you know what happens? Somebody else in the meeting comes up with the same idea and they get all the credit for it. And people are like, oh, that's really great. We should do that. And you're thinking to yourself, why didn't I open my mouth? Why didn't I say that? Because it felt a little unsafe. And so you made a judgment about what to do. Sabotaged you. Here's some other things. Resistance to showing up online when you really want to. Anything that brings up issues of being accepted or rejected. Your brain's going to tell you, get away from that. Anything that's new or a change to something, that's something new. That's going to be a little bit of discomfort there. It's going to tell you not to do that. You're going to feel resistant to it. The thoughts that you have about these things can light up that brain and hold you back. Let's see what else. Going to the gym. Let's say I know if I go to the gym, 2, 3 times a week, it's really going to serve my health goals. But feels uncomfortable. So you're going to come up with 10,000 ideas or 10,000 reasons why not to go, right? Why not to step into your power? Why you shouldn't step out of your comfort zone? Because your brain is thinking anything outside of that comfort zone could be dangerous. It goes back to that primitive way of thinking. But the truth is, the comfort zone is a very dangerous place to hang out. Nothing grows there. It's the reason why people get stuck in bad relationships and don't do anything about it, or bad jobs or careers. It's the reason why people don't set good boundaries for themselves. It feels uncomfortable. They don't change their thinking, even if they know what they're doing doesn't serve them. So that's a problem, right? We create these thoughts about things, and then they drive our emotions, and then our emotions hold us back from taking action because this is lit up. So we want to quiet that down. Now, before I tell you how to quiet that down, I definitely want to acknowledge 2 things that I hear quite often. This is the other side of the coin that people say. So the first thing I hear, particularly from leaders and CEOs, presidents, they say, you know what? I need my judge. I make decisions based on my judgment. That's how I've gotten this far. And how can I make good decisions without making judgments? Okay. That's what they say. The truth on that is that good decisions are not made by judgments. They're not made through that lens of bias and prior experiences. Good decisions are made from thinking clearly, having an open mind. Remember, when this judgment is on fire here, your thinking mind is compromised. You want to make the best decisions? You want to see obstacles before they arrive? You want to have more creative solutions, be a better problem solver? You want to have more influence? You want to get recognized by the right people for the right reasons? Quiet that judge down so you can think clearly, so you can explore things, so you can lean into things like curiosity, innovation, and making the right decisions, not out of fear. So the whole idea of I need my judge, to have the most success, it's not true. It's a misbelief. The other thing, and this, especially for achievers, I hear this a lot. They say, I need that judge because that judge pushes me, that inner critic. If I don't beat myself up a little bit, I don't reach the same success. I don't get the same results. Right? Anybody ever think that? I hear it all the time. And okay, let me acknowledge that you can reach certain goals. You can reach a level of success by being driven by negative emotions. But you'll never sustain long-term happiness that way. And you won't reach your highest level of success that way. You beat yourself up. You think you need it because you've beaten yourself up in the past. You've criticized yourself up in the past. And you can point to some success that you've had. So you go, oh, well, this must be driving this. Not necessarily. I mean, you've probably had things that you weren't successful as well, but you're not thinking about those. You're just thinking about the successful ones. And the truth is that you can get your highest level of success and happiness by being fueled not by that judge and that inner critic, but being fueled by purpose, by passion, by internal motivation of the things that light you up, by quieting down that part of your brain so that you can step out of your comfort zone more readily. Right? So that you don't have to say, well, it must be that I don't have, I'm not disciplined. I'm not doing this because I don't have enough confidence. I got to wait till I have enough confidence to do this. Or I love this. I don't have enough willpower. This is why I'm not being as successful. Not true. I'm a procrastinator. No, there's an underlying reason. It's what's going on in your physiology, and you can hack that. So if you're a person that's beating yourself up, please give yourself permission to let that go. Okay. Get rooted in what you really want, what lights you up, what speaks to your core values. And I guarantee there's a way to reach the level of success you're having or more through those positive forces, okay, rather than the negative. And, there's less noise when you take the positive way, and there's more ease and flow. It's so much better. Okay. So how do we do this? Okay. I've talked a lot about, the problem, because I want you to start recognizing it. I'm hoping that after you've watched this, you can go out into your life and into the world and start recognizing and seeing where that judge shows up. And consider using something other than your judge. And it's something that we call discernment. Discernment is where you look at something, whether yourself, others, circumstances, from a more neutral place, where you're looking for the facts about things from a neutral point of view. Now, if I were to ask you, what really bothers you? What keeps you up at night? What makes you feel icky? Whether it's something about yourself or others or a situation. And describe that to me being neutral, not editorializing, not judging it. Can you do that? Can you do that? Try it. Write it down. Right? And then let's consider the discernment of it, the neutral part about it. Here's the difference. Let's say, and here where I'm in the United States, in New York, yesterday in real time was tax day. So let's say I made a mistake on my taxes, which I hope I didn't. I don't think I did. But let's say you make a mistake, something like that. Judgment will say, oh my God, this is going to be so terrible. It's going to be horrible. I can't believe I did that. I'm such an idiot. Oh my gosh. Or maybe I'm like, oh, my accountant is an idiot. Or the bank who didn't get me the statements, they're the idiots, blah, blah, blah. That's judgment. Discernment is, oh my gosh, I made a mistake on my taxes. I wonder how that happened. Let me figure this out so it doesn't happen again. And so I can see, how the best way to deal with this, best way to deal it that nurtures my well-being and a productive resolution to it. Okay. Here's another example. Let's say you have a business and you have a product or service that you're trying to sell, or maybe you've gone into your boss's office and you're asking for a promotion, right? And let's say the person that you're talking with says, well, we have some monetary budget restrictions, or we're having some money issues. Now, your judge will say, oh, crap, this is going to be terrible. I'm never going to get that promotion. I'm not going to get the money I need. Or if you've got a product or service, you're going to say, uh-oh, they can't afford it. Maybe I should offer something cheaper, or maybe I should cut my rate. Or maybe I'll just, I'll just say thanks for meeting and I'll go. Missed opportunities. Discernment in those same situations says, okay, this person is saying that they have some monetary restrictions. So I'm wondering how we can get creative and find some creative solutions together, collaborate to a resolution so everybody benefits. Right? You see the difference? One is very limiting. One will give you better results. So you can reach your full potential and you can show up and perform to the best of your abilities. So here's what I'd like to suggest that you do. Go out into your life and be a detective. Look for the places that you're judging. If you don't recognize it, look for the places where you feel resistance or you feel some type of negative emotion and ask yourself, what is it you're saying to yourself that is causing that discomfort or that negative emotion? Sometimes you can just feel it in your body. Sometimes you're like, oh, my stomach is just upset. I don't know what, I've got like a anxious stomach, or I feel like a tightness in my chest. Some people are very much into somatic, they're into their body. So that can be an indication. So when you hear those things, when you think those thoughts, I want you to label that as your judge. Label it. It's going to start taking its power away. That's the first thing to do. Be a detective and label it. And if you want to take it a step further, challenge that. Remember, perceptions are wrong. Right? So be a detective, challenge it. For those of you who practice mindfulness, oh, so beautiful. Staying calm, meditating, or doing mindful practices, or yoga, or going out for a walk on a daily basis, that can keep that part of your brain quiet. You're less likely to judge, or it'll be easier to get away from that pattern of judging. And instead, I want you to go out and use discernment. Now, that's a different way of thinking. It's going to take some practice because it's a different way of thinking, and your judging brain is going to tell you you don't need to deal with that. I promise you, if you lean into and practice and build up your discernment muscle, it will benefit you. That is what is going to drive you to your full potential. That's what's going to give you better relationships with people, give you more courage, help you grow personally and professionally, help you thrive, and get your results with less effort. Now, if you need help, reach out. And if you do take these things into consideration and put any of them into practice, I would love to hear about your experience. So please drop me a line. Send me a DM on LinkedIn or Instagram is where I hang out most often. Or you can go to my website and send me an email. It's just barbara@bigdreamexecutivecoaching.com. And if you want that paper, if you came in late and you weren't here at the beginning, I do have something for you. It's a list of 9 thinking patterns that we sabotage ourselves. And it's great. And I know you're going to recognize at least one of them in yourself. So it's eye-opening, and that awareness is so powerful. So if you'd like that, you can either use the QR code at the top of your screen or use the, I'm going to put it in the comments again here. Let's do this. Okay. Oh, there we go. You can use that link to get that. So thank you for showing up. I hope to see you again. And I'd love to hear from your experience and feedback on this. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day.